like, you know what? I want to be a slut in the bedroom. I really do. Like, bring out my inner slut. But I don't know how. Because, Tommy over there, we do it once a month. The lights are off, the covers are up, and then boom, boom, bang, and we'll go to bed, right? And I'm going to put on my little sleep mask, my sleep apnea mask. So it's really, paint that picture. So things are not good in the bedroom, but Tiffany wants to bring out her inner slut, and she loves this guy. She
loves him. That's tough.
She's having a beautiful relationship. They love each other. Everything is great except for the one thing, sex. Okay, as we're eating our hot dogs and hamburgers tonight at the grill, I'm gonna say, hey, by the way, honey, I want to be a slut.
I'm gonna be honest with you about that.
There's a rite of passage. It takes wild courage.
Yes.
Wild.
All right, MJaie Mangus. MJ, I've been following you for a long time on social media, and we've had some little messages about media type things back and forth. You have a fascinating profile online.
Thank you.
And I told Ferrari that we need to get this woman in studio. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about relationships. Let's talk about dating. And you kind of call yourself the sexy life coach. So I've met a lot of life coaches, but never one that is sexy. So welcome. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me.
I'm really looking forward to this conversation. So I just want to, I'll start with like some of the stuff that you put out there, and I want to get your take on it. And then you, if you want, I'm kind of outnumbered today. I've left you there 3 versus 1.
That's right.
And you can get a male take on it too. So
love.
You talked recently, and this is very interesting to me, about hot women, attractive women, sometimes get hated on by other women.
Oh yeah.
Which I find fascinating. So I'm in the studio, just so everybody knows, I'm here with 3 very attractive women. I'll admit it. But I have been out with, when you're out in groups of friends, and then I can hear the little gossip, the little bickering, like who's that bitch, and all that kind of thing. So what is that? Why do women kind of hate on hot girls?
I think it's accountability. I think it boils down to accountability. I think that other women can show up and there's a reflection of something inside of you that maybe there's an insecurity or something that you're not working on in yourself that pops up. And, we're all mirrors for each other. So that is an opportunity for her to go, you know what? I do want to lose that weight. You know what? I really want to go to school, whatever the case may be, whatever pops up. But they tend to be intimidated by it and then go into like a defense hate mode.
So when you're going out with a group of friends and you're going out for the night to have a good time, and you see that one of your guy friends brought along a girl, do you automatically kind of try to connect with her to kind of say, hey, like, everything's friendly over here. There's no competition.
Yes, I'm not here to fuck your man. I'm not here to look at your man. I don't want your man looking at me.
So
I carry myself very well.
You have to worry about that stuff. I mean, from a guy's perspective, like we don't. For example, if somebody, if we're in a social setting and there's like this really handsome guy that walks in, I might like register like, well, that's like that guy's striking, right? It's another human. It's like striking. He's a really good-looking guy, but I don't get any type of jealousy, or I don't get defensive, or I don't start like, whisper into my buddy like, oh, look at that asshole.
But I don't think
but you're a confident man.
No, but I don't think guys do that.
Maybe not as much, but I guarantee
think that they do.
Like
I
that's
think that
why
they do.
anytime there's like a hot actor or something, guys go to is like, oh, didn't you know he's gay? I'll be like,
I think that they do.
Wait a minute.
I think men size each other up, and then
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I'm going to ask the audience. Let's ask the audience. Let's ask the men in the audience right now. So outside of relationships, I'm not talking about some guy kind of creeping on your girlfriend. Just normal everyday stuff. Men, when you see another man that is striking, that is like super, super handsome, do you get that little pit in your stomach? Do you get that little bit of jealousy? Do you get that little bit of envy? Or do you just say, hey, that's another dude? So we're going to get some comments on that and find out, because I know for a fact that females, and they've told me this, that what we're talking about right now, they do get that. I've even been at the gym, and you see like one girl working out, and I'm just kind of observing, and then this woman walks in, and she's got on the yoga pants with a low cut top, and all the girls in the gym are just like, they give her that, what is that called? Resting bitch face?
I don't think
whatever.
it's all the girls.
Oh, a lot of them. A lot of them. You
He
just don't
notices
notice.
the reaction.
I'm watching the girls. I notice what's happening. And when that woman walks into the gym and she gets right in front of that mirror and starts stretching, it's not just the guys looking, the girls, and they're not looking in a sexual way per se, not all of them.
Right.
But they're looking, they're just giving that little
Sizing them
little
up.
side eye. And I find that fascinating. It's like dogs. When two dogs first get together, they kind of run around, they smell each other's buttholes. I feel like girls kind of like, okay, are we cool or are we going to be competitors? It's super interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that though. I mean, if we were to just be logical about it, if I have some things with myself where I just don't feel like I'm enough, let's say I'm wanting to get in better shape, and then I see somebody who's in like phenomenal shape, it's just going to pull out that stuff inside of me that doesn't quite feel adequate. So I can see that being a great playground, I'll call it, when we get those feelings of triggers, because we're speaking
it's a
of
choice.
one.
Yeah, it's a choice. That's your
Yeah.
opportunity for all of the women listening. That is your opportunity. I would love to challenge you next time that happens to take inventory and ask yourself, where are you letting yourself down? Where are you not holding yourself accountable? And do something about it. Again, I use, even like going to school, if somebody wanted to do something, you change as soon as you make that decision and make a call. The confidence, the energy, something shifts inside of you, and the transformation's already beginning. It doesn't take much. You just have to make that choice the next day, and the next day, and the next day. Or you can ignore it, ignore the opportunity. Don't do what it is that you really want to do, and suffer the consequences for it.
What is it inspiring in me? First, I could go to the automatic, like I feel uncomfortable and I feel like, oh, this bitch. Or I could literally right then and there, there's always something that's being inspired in me. If I'm looking at someone and feeling a trigger, there's something about them that I feel inside of me that I haven't quite discovered how to
It's a you problem. It's not a them problem. Got it.
Absolutely.
All
It's
right.
always you versus you.
So do women really associate themselves with their looks? And let me explain. Do they identify themselves with what scale on a 1 to 10 they are? Because this is what I see. And obviously we know all about society and social media, but I have a lot of, friends that are men, and they might not be the best looking guy, but they still like go to the gym and they're successful and they have, hobbies and stuff, and they have high confidence. I feel like the most confident women that I know in my life are extremely attractive. And the women that aren't so confident are not attractive. Is there any truth there? And I'll take the bullets today.
I don't think so. I think that it has to do with believing in yourself. I think you could be a beautiful woman and you do not believe in yourself and you're not attractive. We've all met people that are attractive that are shallow.
You and I have been in a conversation like that before. I remember, like, you have this imagination of someone from afar, but the moment they get close, it's almost like morph into something that's not attractive.
Yeah.
And I would challenge that question and say, is it really go track your memory a little bit, and is what is having you have the experience of somebody being attractive really that kind of confidence and freedom inside of themselves, and a bit of that dance like nobody's watching experience? Because you can be hot and insecure, and they're not going to stand out as much as the woman that's just
Exactly.
free.
Totally natural
Yeah.
and maybe even a little fluffy, and she's confident. She believes in herself.
Fair. Let's get
And
away
that
from
you're
the
going to
confidence.
you're going to be attracted to that.
Fair. But do you think that women identify with themselves based on their own personal looks more so than a man would?
Explain that a little bit more.
So I am who I am, not because of my beliefs in God, not because of how I am as a husband, not because of how I am as a father, not because of my health and everything, my career. I am who I am because of my looks.
I don't think that's how people, some may.
Yeah, I think that's very personal.
I think that that's everybody's individual, and I hope to God that's not what they're relying on.
Well, I can't wait to see the comments on this video.
But let's say somebody
Because-
grows up in like beauty pageants or has a pressure from their mother to always look a bit. It just it's very experience based that would cause that. Sure, is there a pressure on women? Yes, and that's where the work comes from. If you like, we have to do work in order to not fall into that.
We can be inspired. There can be pressure, but you know, I think if you're living to look like other people, then that's if
you guys are giving me so much bullshit.
No.
You've never
No,
heard
this-
a woman say, or maybe you felt yourself in like, what's wrong today, MJ? I don't know. I just don't look good. And they're
we all
associating
have our
their
shitty days,
they're-
for sure.
But they're associating the look, the image in the mirror with the mood.
Yeah, but you're separating them, and what is true for me, and it seems like it's true for you based on what I'm hearing you say, is that they go together. If I feel like shit, I'm gonna think I look like shit. And so we think we need to keep tweaking that over there when it never addresses the real issue. We talked about this with Natalia, the beauty expert. It's that's why today we've got it a little backwards. I see your point, but they go together.
A man's perspective is that appearance and the way a woman presents herself is probably much more important to that woman than it is to the guy. That's how we think. Of course, we like.
I would
women,
agree.
but
I mean, I think it is our appearance and how
you
we.
guys are telling me looks don't matter. I don't really care.
looks.
Okay.
They don't matter to you guys?
They do.
They
No,
do.
looks
They matter, but they do. Like, I didn't get dressed because I wanted to impress people today. I got dressed today for me.
Yeah.
That's what
I'm
I
getting
did.
at, because it makes you feel good.
It
When
makes
you're having
me,
a good,
I feel MJ.
you
I am
look good
me,
today.
head to toe,
Yes.
and that's that.
You
I
didn't
didn't
show
get
up in
dressed
pajamas
right.
and no makeup. No, you.
But
wanna
even
look-
if I did, if I'm confident and that's how I feel and that's how I want to be,
Okay.
then I'm fine with that. But there's just a vibration for me and how I feel my best, and
Got
that's
it. I think
what
that's
I do for
where
me.
I'm more so I'm going towards. It's just that the way I feel,
Insecure
appearance
women.
matters. I see that. Look, appearance matters to men. Of course, we like beautiful women. Of course, but there's this idea that the girlfriend, the woman in the room, it actually matters to her more than it matters to us, because we're already cool with you. We're already with you. And then it's like, wait, I got to go to the bathroom and
what
fix
your
my
point is.
makeup. And
I
it's
see what
like
your point is.
that whole thing. We don't have that as guys.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's why.
And
it's
if you're
more
telling me
attractive.
that the way you look on a given day, or the way you look in general as a woman,
It
as a human,
matters.
doesn't matter.
But it does. But I think for me, and I'm assuming for you that it's for us. It's not for other people's
Okay.
approval.
Got it. Okay. Glad we got that.
Insecure women will do that for other people. But I think confident women that dress for themselves and show up for themselves every day, if they feel like not good, they're going to go to the gym and be like, I got to,
So
or
I'm
they're
gonna
going to
bring
eat a pizza because that makes them feel good.
I'm going to bring up
Whatever's-
another topic that's going to be quite controversial, and I'm here with three powerful women. I might not make it out of the studio today, but you know what? Screw it. So men don't, and I'm bringing this up with you as our guest today because you're really not afraid to talk about sex and to talk about female issues. Men do not understand women's menstrual cycles. And this is a conversation like I've had with guy friends. It's like a joke. It's like a one-off joke. Like, oh, Sarah's being a real bitch today. Like, I just had to come out and have a beer, right? Oh, she's probably, on her period. It's like, okay. But maybe she really is. I don't know. How much does what time of the month it is affect that time of the month and your life in those moments? And I'm being dead serious. I'm not trying to be
your
goofy.
hormones change and you may be sensitive. It does affect, your day.
And why is
Absolutely
that
does.
not talked about? Like, if you and I were dating and you're honestly having a problem because you have, not a problem, but your hormones are fluctuating, why isn't it like, hey, Billy, it's that time of the month, you just need to give me some space? Like, I feel like that we don't have that communication in general in society.
The communication, period, is a problem. between couples and people. So I wouldn't have a problem saying, look, I just started my period and I'm going to be a little, or you know what? I wouldn't have a problem communicating that. And that's to, up to every woman in the relationship or their girlfriends. Sometimes women even, might get a little nippy with each other, but we know that if we say, look, I'm on my period, but it shouldn't change you, but there are fluctuations.
Let me clarify something in your question. Are you saying that your guy friends have girlfriends and the girls have an issue saying,
right,
hey bro, I'm on my period?
1,000%.
That is just
that doesn't even seem like they're
out of the norm.
Yeah,
to
they
me.
should not.
Like I could see
guys
me
know nothing
maybe
about female
having a
menstrual
block with
cycles.
you as a guy friend, and we're in the studio, and me being like having. I could see the tendency of not wanting to announce it because of like whatever shame that we've wrapped around that whole thing. But like for a girlfriend not to tell their boyfriend,
1,000%.
Interesting. I'm just a
And
little
guys
blown away by
have,
that.
and the reason I bring it up because this is a free space and freedom of speech. Guys have no idea whether it's on the kind of medical health side or the emotional side or anything else. No idea about female menstrual cycles. No idea.
Do you mind if I just say something really quick to enlighten this conversation about a deeper aspect of the menstrual cycle? I actually traveled all the way to the UK and did this retreat called Wild Women's Way. And it was like a big portion of it was how sacred this is. And here in the West particularly, that's just so lost. It's like, she's being a bitch today. Everybody stay away from her. She's on her period. It's just so lost. But anyway, I'm going to nutshell it. And Eckhart Tolle said this too. He's a great philosopher or enlightened being. Anyway, it's when a woman has her menstrual cycle, the reason why, in fact, we have the potential to live longer and tendency to live longer is because we have access to our emotions and feelings and therefore opportunities to clear them simply by feeling them and moving through them. And the menstrual cycle provides that space, as sloppy and as shitty as it might look. Like we want to, I don't even know what that could look like sometimes. It's not supposed to be pretty. Nonetheless, we're going there. And all of the things that might be hiding under the surface, it's the menstrual cycle that brings it up to the top that lets us clear that.
So it's a rebirth?
It'd be a beautiful thing because, again, sloppy, but we're releasing stuff. We're going through it. We're letting ourselves be a bitch that day, and because there's suppressed emotions in there. Where guys' tendency is to not have those outlets. We naturally have them more than men do, which is probably why it's so confusing for you guys.
It's very confusing, and thank you for talking about the topic because really guys don't know much about it, and again, I mean, the audience will comment on this. I mean, do you know about your significant other, your partner, your girlfriend's period, when it's happening and how it affects
Gosh,
you?
if somebody was in a relationship and they couldn't talk about their period or any part of being a woman, then I would probably think about who you're with.
Yeah, let's bring this to let's go deeper then, because it feels like shame or whatever's wrapped around that. I'm just baffled that is a common conversation with you guys and it's not talked about. But let's go there, because her and I right away we were talking about like the shame aspect of everything. Let's kind of unpack what it is then, even in a sexual department, which is a form of communication in partnerships. Let's kind of talk and just go all the way in there and like what it is that blocks couples, what it is that allows for that freedom. And it seems like it's these kind of things that would be a block. And like, let's start opening up.
I think it really boils down to judgment. People don't want to be judged
in bed,
in life, but in bed, because sex is something that is so sacred and intimate, and people don't even know their own body. Even masturbation, it's taboo. You're not supposed to be doing it. Hurry up and do it quick and get it over with before somebody walks in the room. we are made to feel shameful about something that we should be coming first. I didn't mean that. That's good. But so with that shame, now we're not really going to want to talk to our partner about something specific that maybe we want to try because that's weird. You know, it really does come down to judgment, and then shame. Maybe something has happened in the past that keeps you kind of in the shadows.
I love that you brought this up because I think it's another topic that is not talked about a lot, and I think a lot of times men are afraid to talk about sex, especially at the beginning of a relationship. So let's just be honest here. Again, it just happens, right? So you go out, whether it's date 15 or hour 1, right? Maybe it's alcohol induced, maybe it's whatever, and then it happens, and now we've set sort of a bar. We did it this way. This was the style. This is kind of the boundary, this was the limit, and now we're here. And then a week later, we get together again and blah, 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 and now we've set this bar, and it's pretty similar. Now, extrapolate that out a year down the road.
That's the problem.
And we're still on the same sexual level because we never talked like, oh, you like that, I like this, da, 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 da. Because that first night that we got drunk, that was as far as we would go. And then we kind of evened out like a plane like that, and then we evened out and we just stayed, we stayed right there.
Can I ask you, so this seems like it's not a guy or a girl thing, it's a guy-girl thing, both. Are you afraid? Because this must be your experience too.
Depends. Don't put words in my mouth. It depends on the person, but
identify with yourself.
I'm going to.
Okay.
Now you got me on tilt. What I'm realizing in my own life is, which is why I bring it up from the beginning, you have to set kind of the tone, for lack of a better term, from the beginning as yourself, as a man, and in the relationship. So if she's not willing to come out and say, hey, like, what kind of things are you into? What are we doing? Maybe it's before, maybe it's after, maybe it's during the act of sex. You have to kind of make it open and make it fun in the beginning. If it gets weird, then it's going to be weird for a long time.
I wanna even take it before that. Okay. We got to figure out what we like. We got to before the partners even. We got to again start with us. We got to go. Let's be honest. What kind of sex do I like? What really turns me on? I always recommend for my clients, take the BDSM test that you can just simply Google. It's nothing crazy, but it's going to ask you the short test and then there's a long test. It's going to ask you questions. Answer them honestly. And from there, it's going to give you suggestions. It's going to tell you how vanilla you are. It's going to tell you different areas. From there, and it's going to, based off of your answers, it's going to say, try this, or what about this? It's a good opportunity for you to explore. Outside of that, most are watching porn. And this is where they're getting, oh, I could do it like that, or maybe she'll like this, or she'll love it when I do that. And it's not real sex. And it's not where we should be getting our sources of inspiration. There's nothing wrong with porn. I was saying out in the parking lot, we really talked a lot from the car to the door.
Fast.
We did. I don't think I'm somebody who, I don't judge anybody for anything. I work to create a non-judgmental community. That's why my clients come to me. They can tell me anything and I'm not going to judge them. So anybody out there, the problem with porn or anything else out there is, in an addiction cycle, is if you start noticing, I feel bad for this, I'm not going to do that again, and then you don't, and then all of a sudden you start getting the itch for it. Now, let's take that even, let's step back from there. Why do you feel guilty for that? Where did that come from? Was it something that you learned when you were a child, that having sex a certain way or something that you heard made it bad? You have to question and challenge what your core beliefs are in order for you to really get to the real you and who you really want to be and how you want to experience life.
So somebody watching this right now, let's say they're not, whether it's a man or woman, they're not very experienced. They haven't had many partners, let's say. How do you get to that place of knowing what you like or what you don't like?
Play with yourself. Figure out your body, what turns you on.
My job. That's the mic drop. Play with yourself. Okay.
But just start self-discovery.
But if we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this. Play with yourself. You're talking about masturbation.
Just anything in general. Do what you can with your. People don't know their own body.
So how do you get to know your own body?
You self-explore. You take the time. You don't sit and try and get it over in 2 minutes before somebody walks in the door. You start figuring out what parts of your body actually stimulate you, and what things stimulate you mentally. What visually stimulates you. But it's really I'm going to start getting to know me. You're not going to learn everything overnight, and you definitely learn more when you have a partner. But when you start getting comfortable with yourself, then you're going to start advocating for yourself. You're not going to want to end up with somebody that you're going to have vanilla sex with if, there's nothing wrong with vanilla sex. If you're wanting to experience certain things, you want to make sure that you align with somebody who is like-minded.
Let me chime in.
Please.
Let me chime in.
I hope that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. You were saying something around getting to know yourself, and I want to back up a little bit on you in the beginning of this, saying like talking about it in the very jump. Because then you feel like you've set something and then you can't get out of it. Like here we are in this container, and I never wanted to just be locked in that container. I feel trapped in there.
It's so true.
And I will tell you, I remember being at a dinner. Now, mind you, we were just getting to know each other, and this guy starts to bring up, before we we never did, but before we were intimate in that way, he starts to bring up that conversation, which I didn't mind, and I was like very open to it. But I found it to be, like, how do you know that's what our chemistry is going to be? Like, I understand how you experienced things, and I can tell you my past memories of experience, even though I was more listening to him. But then it's like you're putting me in a container that I feel like I have to
This sounds like it was all about him. That's not a good lover.
Which is why we never went there.
Yeah.
But here's what I hear, and then I started, as you were talking, I was tracking like what were these moments that were so beautifully passionate, and I call them the best of the best. And what was that distinguishing factor? It wasn't always like because we were swinging from the fucking rafters. It was because it was intuitive in the moment, and there was a freedom, and there's only those two people can have that type of chemistry that can't exist with any other two people. So I find it just this experience of letting go.
Absolutely.
Right? And there's an unfolding to that keeps deepening the closer you are. And this gets it more spiritual than it does. Like, I'm not the type of person that's just going to be intimate right away, not because I think that's wrong. It's just I know myself, and I need a deeper connection to have that authentic experience. So I feel like it's so surprising what comes forward in us that we didn't learn from a book. It's just a natural passion, and it ends up being like the best of the best.
People have got to learn to let go. They're so worried about, like performance sex and what they look like, and if they're going to do this or if they're going to do that. And we got to get to a place inside ourselves that freedom really only comes from when we don't judge ourselves and we let go. It's the best sex. It's the best intimacy when you have two people that just let go together.
It's like
what
ecstasy.
it is.
Yeah.
It is a high, and you want to call on that. And those moments only happen every so often. Now, if you're with the partner and you find that, great. But I think we've all been I'm talking for myself probably, but we've been in relationships where we're like, you're thinking something, you want to go there, you don't say anything. They're probably thinking and doing the same thing. And then you get out of that relationship and you're like, I don't want to do that again. I don't want to be with somebody. And then you get into the next one, it's the same thing. It's communication. So if we start getting comfortable with ourselves and start owning who we are and our happiness, I'm accountable for my joy and happiness only. Somebody can't come into my world and I can create that with them and experiences, but I am accountable for my own happiness, which means I need to figure out what's going to make me happy. and I've got to be comfortable with me. Once you do that kind of work, once you take yourself serious and you're like, I want to be this, I want to feel this way. I want to be able to do this. I want to do it without judging myself. I don't want to have, guilt and shame attached to it. I want to blah, 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 blah. When you finally get there, you aren't going to let that go for somebody who can't talk about sex. You have to be the one. And you say, yes, men can take that lead, and they should. But somebody in the relationship, I guarantee you, if you got two people and one is comfortable talking about sex and saying, what do we do this? Or the other one, it's both people want to feel safe. It all boils down to safety and permission. And men, you need to let your women know. Women, I'm not speaking for all women, but women do want to be sluts in the bedroom. We really do, but we do need permission. So men need to let their women know. But if there's this awkward space already because you guys have been together for 2 years and you've never gone there, and now all of a sudden Tiffany is hearing about Becky and her sex life, and now she's, jelly. Let's get over ourselves, our ego, and the guilt and the shame. Go back to your lover and say, look, I need to have an honest conversation with you, and try and meet there. And if they can't meet you, then you have to decide if you want to.
So we can talk about finances, we can talk about health, all these things in a relationship. But I feel that sex is one, it doesn't matter how close you are to that person. Be married for 15 years, 20 years, 30 years. And you say, well, go to your partner and you need to have this conversation. Communication is key, to your point. Let's give our audience some real steps. They're listening to MJaie today, they're listening to Ferrari, and they're like, you know what? I want to be a slut in the bedroom. I really do. Like, bring out my inner slut. But I don't know how. I don't know how. Because, Tommy over there, we do it once a month, the lights are off, the covers are up, and then boom, boom, bang, and we'll go to bed, right? I'm going to put on my little sleep mask, my sleep apnea mask. So it's really, paint that picture. So things are not good in the bedroom, but Tiffany wants to bring out her inner slut, and she loves this guy. She
loves him. That's tough.
She's having a beautiful relationship. They love each other. Everything is great except for the one thing, sex. Okay, as we're eating our hot dogs and hamburgers tonight at the grill, I'm gonna say, hey, by the way, honey, I want to be a slut.
I'm gonna be honest with you about that. I was actually talking to somebody who is in that very scenario, and he will not meet her there. She's the one that. Oh, and this is the other thing: those that want the sex the most are the ones that get rejected the most, which
within
is a
the
good
relationship.
Way. Yes, whether it's a man or whether it's a woman, whoever wants the more sex is the one that deals with the rejection. Rejection is very real, and if you imagine if we were in a relationship and I kept on coming at you, or you kept on coming at me, and I'm like, not tonight, honey, I've got cramps or whatever, you would start feeling like, the rejection would start making you feel a certain way, and then closing you up. Well, whatever, but
to my point, guys, don't know anything about it.
That particular scenario can really, and more than likely, will boil down to, and I'm not saying everybody, but you're going to have to choose. I hate to say this. Do I say this? I'll say about this person. He won't meet her there, and it's almost scheduled sex. And she loves him so much that she's willing to stay in the relationship and be sexually unsatisfied because everything else makes sense. I'm just trying to be real and honest. Yes, I am not going to say.
But what were you going to say? Were you saying that maybe that's a deal breaker? You got to break up?
Absolutely, yes. Sex is very important. It bleeds into every aspect of your life. Can you imagine how good you would feel if you were having amazing sex with somebody?
Can I ask
recharging and going back out into the world, how your performance and work and life and parenting and everything would just be completely boosted.
Big question for you, because I'm sure you get this a lot, and I'm a big observer. I watch a lot, and that's how I discover so many things, and also in my life, and I witness, and I kind of get like, this is what happens often. So the first stage of a relationship, it's usually that incredible butterfly stage, especially in the physical intimacy. And then you have the relationship that goes on and on and on and on. And you're so used to every little thing, and it's like hard to get it wild because it's not new, and you feel like you're just making it up and, fake it till you make it. How do you, and I get what you're saying, and I almost wonder if that's what makes me a little bit fearful of commitment, to be honest. How do you get that to sustain without it feeling like it's not liberating anymore? You're the same person over and over and over again.
People have to find a space in their relationship within themselves that they're going to commit to trying to have new experiences. They just have to. And if they have a partner that doesn't align with that, then you do have to make a choice.
Give me some examples of those new experiences. Like, what could that look like? If you've done enough, you're a couple, you've done as much as you can think of. So
there's something called body mapping that I would probably recommend is the safest and probably the most comfortable it's sexual, but you're not supposed to have sex when you're doing this. And this is where you would take, and 2 different days, not back to back, but you would take your partner and let's say that they would lay down on the bed. You would take them from their head down to their toe, and you would touch every part of their body, and they would let you know that's stimulating to me. That feels good. Feeling good is different than it's being sexually stimulated.
Wow.
And so everybody knows, every 90 days, our desire for sex changes. That's why we're in a relationship. And then all of a sudden you start wondering why you're wanting to do things like this. No, why is this in my head? Why is this starting to turn me on, this thought? Is because our desire changes about every 90 days. So we want to know that it doesn't, it's just we ignore it. We're too shameful to talk about it. But back to the body mapping, you would lay your partner down. You would take note of those parts of their body that they were like, that really turned me on. And then you would, the next time, those areas. But body map, again, every 90 days. But it's fun. And it's something that is not like we're not having good sex, and so we need to start trying to do this stuff. Like, sex is such a beautiful space that you always. I wouldn't talk about it during sex. I would talk about it in a place that maybe on the couch where the mood is really cool and nothing's, or talk about it on a high when you guys are laughing and doing something that's fun, the energy's up. I always say this, that you can say you heard it on a podcast, that, hey, and this is another thing I would probably really like to let everybody know, that speaking of hearing it on a podcast, about fantasies, because fantasies are like dreams. And if I told you what I dreamed last night and it was wild and crazy, would you judge me? Or would you be like, my God, girl, that's hot, right? So we have this thing with fantasies being shameful too. But if you say, I heard this on a podcast the other day, honey, that fantasies are like dreams. We don't know where they necessarily come from. They just kind of like happen. What are the kind of things that you fantasize about? Tell me something, like one thing. What would you ever? So now it's permission to talk about sex, or to talk about something maybe kinky or something that we're wanting to try. But I don't suggest lying. I'm not saying go lie and say that you heard it on a podcast. But if you're listening, you heard it on a podcast. And go back and say, I heard that fantasies. So what we're wanting to do is get comfortable with communicating.
So can you just give the audience that sentence? I heard it on a podcast. I heard that fantasies are.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and I heard that fantasies are like dreams. You don't know where they necessarily come from. They're just there.
And then open yourself up to, and here's my fantasy.
Because now,
sexually.
Yeah, so now
I'm learning. I got all kinds of
Alexia,
paper back there.
Would you be? Let me ask. Would you be willing to do this? Like, does it feel like it applies, or does it feel out there?
I would definitely do it. Because then there's like a little bit of ease into it, and not like this huge responsibility.
Yes. Because then you're going to be like, oh my God, I suck in bed. My partner thinks I suck in bed.
Right.
I'm not pleasing them.
So I love that. I love the fantasies, dreams. You heard it on a podcast. And I love the body mapping. Lay your partner down, head to toe, you said, and just to give it, and then just kind of just touch different body
Touch and
parts.
kiss, or like just touch?
Yeah. Another thing that you can do is sensory deprivation. Yeah, I heard it on a podcast, honey. This thing called sensory deprivation. So you would take a mask maybe and take the sight away. And now they have to put their tongue out and you have to put something on maybe it's honey or maybe it's a feather going up to, so now all these other senses are heightened. But what is happening is we're creating a safe space for people, for couples to explore because they heard it on a podcast. Let's try. What we're doing ultimately, who's listening, is saying, I'm going to be the one to start creating the opportunity for better communication between me and my lover, and I'm going to do it this way. Whether it's the woman or whether it's the man, both of you want to have this conversation. And if you are vanilla, there's nothing wrong with vanilla. Vanilla needs to find a vanilla partner. But if you are into other things, you need to share that, because I don't want you to be unhappy. I don't want you to be wanting to have certain sex and being deprived of that the rest of your life. That's no way to live.
Great.
But sometimes it does boil down to, do I need to leave this relationship?
Yeah.
And are you bold enough to find a partner that is going to satisfy you?
I think people need to have permission to know that sex is that important.
It is extremely
And
important.
I think some people go, well, maybe it doesn't matter that much, and all of these other things really matter. But I feel like it's really up there.
Man, I mean, when you don't have sex, you get cranky, you get depressed, you get all kinds of things happening. You have sex, somebody has sex, and they come into work and they're like at the coffee pot high-fiving, they feel really good, they're listening to music, It is one of, I think it's the most important aspect of our life when it comes to being alive and expressing ourselves and stepping into who we really want to be ourselves.
All right. So for the fellas out there, I'm taking a lot of bullets today, but we're going to bring this thing home. And I've got two other topics. Well, a little bit. I mean, I brought up your period. That was hard. All right. So, girls and other girls. There's something that's been happening the last 3 to 5 years in men's circles and the conversations that we have. Girls liking other girls. Girls kissing other girls. I kissed a girl and I liked it. Is that it? What is happening there? Is it that society is now more open and there's that freedom to just be open about it? Or is this a thing that we're just not aware of, that a lot of women are into dudes, but they're also into girls?
I kissed a girl once, and I like men. I'm not attracted to women. I don't look at women and nothing happens to my body. I think that if you're doing something because everybody else is doing it, I think that now if you do that and you decide, oh my God, I actually discovered that I like girls, then everybody needs to figure out what their thing is. But if people are doing things because it's popular and it's not really who they are, then they're not going to feel good about that. But love is hard enough, relationships is hard enough, sex is hard enough, that we need to truly be ourselves, and whatever that means, we need to accept that about ourselves.
If we go out to the club and we observe, you're probably not going to observe a group of 5 straight males and 2 of them get drunk and all of a sudden it's like, oh, look, Tommy and Chris are making out.
Kissing, yeah.
But you
Right.
might observe 5 girls that have had a couple glasses of champagne. It's like, oh my God, Alexia and Angela, and they're smooching over there. That's cute. And then it's not even a thing.
Okay.
What's going on?
Maybe they like it. Maybe they just really, but they have to decide if they're in relationships, if this is cheating or not. They need to make sure that their partner, whether it's a male or female, is okay with them kissing other women, and that it's not really cheating because I'm kissing a girl thing. I mean, you have to make sure that your partner is considered in this, and that you just don't, but everybody needs to just figure out what they like.
There is, of course, the big category that absolutely enjoys it authentically. And I think what I'm hearing you touch on is that now there's almost like this is attractive, this is a very flirty thing to do, and this is going to cause me to occur as very desirable.
It's
and
fake.
It feels like a trend.
I think it's fake.
Versus
think
an
it is.
authentic. I mean, I'll just say me personally, I have not ever kissed a girl because I've just never been drawn to it. It's just like the same thing. There's never been a sensation inside of my body that has me go there. But I've also kept my mind open to say, okay, have you been programmed that way too? So I've even looked into that
That's great.
with as much of an open mind, and I have
that.
discovered authentically, seemingly for myself, nothing there.
Yeah, no, that's great that you challenged that. Again, is that a core belief? Was I told? A lot of the times, my sessions really kind of boil down to core beliefs with people, and they're living a life that conflicts with what, and they don't realize it, but the torment is because they're living a life that it goes against what they're raised in core beliefs.
Yeah.
But everybody needs to know, we, again, are charged of our own happiness and joy and being accountable for that. We have to question, where did I get that belief? Is that because grandma said, or it's been generated, or I'm going to be, outcasted if my family found out that but you have to at least be true to yourself. Doesn't mean you have to go announce to your family that you like women, but you have to be honest with yourself so that within you don't have that torment. You know who you are, you've accepted who you are, and you know the difference between what I was raised to believe versus what I am and what I believe. I'm going to take my core beliefs, I'm going to write them down. Do these still apply to my life in this world, who I am today? And if they don't, you crumble that piece of paper and then you write down what are my core beliefs. We have to sit down and ask ourselves that, especially if we're not happy in life. What is going on? A lot of people will live because if they don't do this, then it's going to disappoint my parents, right?
Yeah.
Well, then, so you got to go, all right, am I willing to change my life and live for me? Or is not disappointing my parents more valuable to me? What can I live with? Because your new life is going to cost you your old one. But as long as it is clear in your mind, your choice, so that when you do break away and you do go to your parents and you're like, I'm not going to go to school, I'm going to join a band and, whatever, that when the consequences of that choice come up, that you know that you made it and you are in your power and you own your decision 100%, so you can live with the consequences and send love to your parents and know that they're disappointed because they're just not you. It was a different, time of life. They are who they are, but you still have to be responsible for your happiness or give it up.
Yeah.
And then if you're unhappy, don't bitch about it because
Yeah.
you had the choice and you gave it up because it's more important to keep parents happy.
I learned a lot today.
Yeah.
I learned a lot, and I'll leave you both with these 3 things that I learned. Okay, so the first one is when we talk about relationships, you both talked about self-work. Before we even get involved with a relationship, you need to, and maybe it's actually journaling and writing this down, writing a list down, you need to understand, what are my personal boundaries? What do I want out of the relationship? What do I want out of sex? Am I vanilla? Am I freaky? Am I somewhere in the middle? So before you even have that conversation with a prospective partner, you need to understand who you are and what you want. And I think a lot of people don't do that, including myself. The second thing is, obviously it's a cliche, but communication is key. And what I was opened up to today is 2 powerful women in our studio. And I was able to bring up all kinds of topics, and I felt really comfortable talking about sex. So it's like the next time I'm out on a date with a powerful woman, it's okay. You guys are cool. Like, we're good, right? It doesn't have to be that imbalance of, oh, is she gonna think I'm a creep? Is she, as long as it's done,
Then she ain't your girl,
then
honey.
she ain't your
If
girl.
she don't think,
and as long as it's done in a way that's, like you said, to your point, not like, oh, that's all. It's all about me, me. Like it's done in a way that there's a two-way road and back and forth. I think it's key to bring this stuff up and have a little bit of a talk. The last thing is, sex is a game changer. If you're out there right now and you're in a relationship and you're a sexual being, whether you're a man or a woman, if you've took her steps and you've done the mapping and you've had the conversation, et cetera, you've read the books, gone to therapy, if you ain't getting it and it's important, you might want to look in to breaking up, changing your partner.
if sex is that important to you, then yeah. Some people, you know, their lifestyle or certain things are more important to them. Again, you got to bring it back. You know, look at your hands and go, okay, what do I want? What do I have, or what would I lose? And feel the energy. Place one in each hand and feel the energy and ask yourself and look and go, what choice am I going to make? Mm-hmm. Because there's going to be pros and cons to both, but what are you willing to experience? What are you going to live?
You two have a lot of similarities in that
Thank you.
this spirituality or this these feelings that you, like you said, feel the energy. This word energy. It's like, okay, which way do I go? Instead of being sort of analytical or this is what the textbooks say.
Right.
It's like, feel it.
Well, I have one more
Okay.
question to leave it up because
All
I
right.
feel like this would help the audience too. When we talk about this fantasy and permission for fantasy, I really like that, especially I heard it on a podcast and it's like a dream. Can you give us, because sometimes I feel like even the fantasy component can get blocked a little bit. So can you give 3 fantasies that you have like seen in your work that are just that people kind of thrive inside of, that maybe somebody goes, okay, I want to try to explore that fantasy. 3 fantasies.
I would say dom sub. Oh, I love this power dynamic. It is. People think
Dominatrix? What did you say?
it's dom and sub. So you have a dominant and a submissive, and it's a power play, but it can be so. It's not whips and chains, and so that's really what sex education is about. It's why I say and do the things that I do on my Instagram. I'm always suppressed. I'm always, I go against community guidelines all the time, but try and get little things out there. So people think dom sub, whips, chains, pain, hurt, and it's not. It can be. It's a very beautiful dynamic that has trust is the center, and it's super sexy. Oh, you like that, Billy?
No. I just want to know something. How do you know if you're a dom or a sub?
You choose it. You can say agreement,
you choose,
right?
yeah.
So like tonight I'm a dom and you're a sub, and
agreement.
tomorrow we're gonna.
Well, I mean,
change?
there are people that switch that, but you normally have somebody who's a dominant that is.
You just
that's
feel
what
it.
that's what they want to do.
Okay.
But there's an art to that, and it's a journey just like everything else. But there's different variations of it. But for the most part, it's not. It can be choking and submission and all this stuff. And if that's your thing, that's your thing. But that is something that I think is a beautiful dynamic that. Between masculine and feminine energy, it really complements that. And if people kind of played with it a little bit more, people, they say they're alpha and this and that, that person might want to kind of do a little bit of research on this dynamic and see if because if they're into that, they want more of a, submissive woman.
All right, love it. She asked for 3.
And I'm going to throw one in, just like tell me if this would be I've never tried it, but it always seems like it'd be good to pretend like you're strangers and go to a bar. Doesn't that seem like it could arouse
That's hot.
something?
Yeah, absolutely.
Pretend like you're strangers.
I don't know how you can pretend that you're not strangers, but having dynamics of that it is amazing. Playing nurse, doctor, whatever the case may be. But start with fantasizing about those particular things in your mind. Our mind is where it all begins. It's where we gotta let go.
See, nurse, doctor.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. How would you even begin with a nurse doctor? I just don't get it.
People just would have to be. I know it's like, okay, you're putting on Halloween
help us.
costumes and it's awkward, but it's just playful. People really get into these, different roles, and
Okay.
that's what it is that they do. So,
right.
what's another one?
What's one that you've heard from one of your clients, one of your discussions that even made you blush?
Oh.
She's like, nothing.
I don't really. I hear so much that I don't really.
Give one more realistic one for the people that are just like, all right, let me explore this.
Okay, I know we've been talking about communication, but saying nothing.
Oh.
Saying absolutely nothing.
Just like communicating through your eyes and your body.
Yeah, your body.
Okay.
Taking where you're not going to communicate, because communication is great, but it also can break up fantastic energy.
Does that mean you can still moan and things like that?
Oh, moan! Please,
Just no words.
Tell your partner to moan when it feels good, so that you know, because that encourages the lover, and they're like, oh yeah, she likes it or he likes it. But moaning and sounds, men don't make sounds. A lot of men don't make sounds. Billy, do you make sounds? I want to know.
I love that.
Answer the
Do
question,
you?
Billy.
I answered all of your questions.
I'm silent.
Billy, do you want to moan?
I don't moan.
You should.
Do you want to moan?
I need to
Do you
explore that.
Whatever you're thinking in
I'm
your
gonna go home and
head,
explore my moaning.
do that. But when
Alexia,
you're
do you
thinking
moan?
it,
She's a moaner. But real
She's
quick,
like, I'm a screamer.
But when you said no communication, that could be a way to kind of light the fire. So the guy or the girl just comes home from work or whatever
Heck
it is, the
yeah.
grocery store, and there's no talk, just right to
Yeah,
it.
I
That's
like
cool.
it.
I
And-
recently played with this myself.
Did you? How'd it go?
Oh my
Were you the one that
God!
came home and didn't talk, or was it the guy?
Electric. We agreed not to talk.
Just went at it.
We agreed not to talk, and we didn't talk for 12 hours.
Oh, wow.
And it was the hottest, sexiest.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
good. That's a good one. Okay.
Okay,
But you guys could start with an hour.
Okay, and last thing, because we got to go. This is going way over time. But last thing, your idea, it's like a hamster wheel in my head right now. Your idea about the stranger thing, I think that's one piece, another thing for the audience. If things are like, maybe you're 6 months in or you're a year and a half in, and things like that fire, what do you call it? The honeymoon stage, the butterfly stage, the rose-colored glasses stage. If that's over and things are getting a little stale, say, okay, you meet me 9 o'clock at this bar.
Yeah.
I'm going to show up if I want to show up. We'll see. But we've never met. We don't know each other. And then that person is actually going to mingle.
You can't even
and
sit by each other at
no,
first. You have
they
to
got to pick. You got to, like day one, you got to pick me
That
up
would
from
be
the bar.
fun, because you could be like, we could be at a club or a restaurant or whatever, and people think that we don't know each other, but then I could
Right.
start trying to turn you on and
Everything. And don't even go
and then
home.
you do it back, and then you're turning each other
Don't
on,
even
and
go
everybody's
home. Get a
like, these two
hotel.
people need to get a room.
hotel.
Yes,
All
you
the
need to
way
get a
through.
hotels.
I love it.
Yes.
I'm excited.
Yes.
I'm going out tonight. All right.
I feel like I need to
Thank
get
you.
a boyfriend now.
Like, subscribe.
Or
By
a
the way-
toy, or a toy.
By the way, I know for a fact our audience is like, you said that your Instagram gets a little bit uncensored.
Right now, you can find me on right now on Instagram. You can't even.
Okay,
'cause
where
I'm
can
shadow
people get more
banned.
information from you?
You can find me on Facebook, MJaie Mangus, MJaie Mangus, Mangus. Hit me up there and look for me on Instagram. But yeah,
I really
they can reach
appreciate
me through you too.
Okay, yeah, through me, yeah, sure, at Billy Harflash. And if I brought up some things today that you think that I was totally off, just put it in the comments. Or if you think they were off, put it in the comments. Very interesting. I love this conversation.
too.
I was like, I'll be honest, I was a little nervous because you two are, again, powerful women. But once we started getting into it, what?
I just feel like you don't get
He
intimidated.
judged
I
it.
do get nervous. I do get nervous. About almost nothing, but this I do get a little
conversation.
nervous, and I
That's
think
fair.
a lot of men do.
That's fair.
Can I just
ahead.
say, you guys can also find me on Love and Lies podcast. I actually have a podcast. Love and Lies podcast. So that's not shadow banned.
there
you can
you
find
for
me
it.
there,
You
and
can
that's
really say-
you want stuff. That's
I heard it on the podcast.
You know what I love about your podcast?
What?
The anonymous piece.
Oh, it is.
She does.
The pulse.
Can you just explain that real quick?
So it's inspired by my life coaching practice, but I heard the quote by Oscar Wilde, "If you give a man a mask, he will tell you everything." And so I've created a space where I interview people, their lifestyles or an event that had happened. They're not doing it for a like, they're not doing it for a following. They're completely anonymous, and they are telling me everything that they thought that they were going to go to the grave with. So it's different lifestyles. It's crazy. It's I can't put it into one category except for anonymous and
it's all men?
crazy raw. No, it's men and women. But it is fun, and it's when they're in studio, I get to see this transformation because again, they're sharing things that they've never told anybody, and the transformation before my eyes is incredible.
Wow.
They're sharing it with the world, and secrets make you sick, guys.
I love that.
Yeah.
I might come on your show, but maybe I like the anonymous piece.
I just figured out we are going to apply the anonymous voice. There's a high-profile lawyer in town that does group sex.
Oh, really?
And there's a couple of, I have to protect people's identity
Sure.
where it's not even, their voice can even be detected. But I'm very excited. So that means, Billy, you can come on and be anonymous and we can talk about.
Maybe someday. Thank you so much. Thank you for
so much.
Thank you
This
for
is so
coming
much,
on.
guys.
I think we need more of this in society. Communication is key. All right, like, subscribe, share this video. Bye, everybody.